It's showtime. Oh, maybe it's not showtime. I gotta kill this volume here. Hold on, I'm getting an echo. Now it's showtime. Hi, folks. Today we're covering a very important topic, which is the basics of Social Security retirement benefits and how to create Social Security strategies in order to maximize you and your family's lifetime benefits. Which begs the question, why should we even consider approaching our Social Security benefits from a strategic point of view? But before we jump into it, I'd like to tell you a couple of quick stories that I've experienced to drive home the point of why we should be educated on Social Security and how it can make such a big difference in our lives. First, at a routine meeting with a client about 6 years ago, I sat down with a couple where he was age 70 and she was age 65. He had worked paying nearly the maximum into Social Security for over 40 years. And he had been collecting his benefits since age 65. She had not worked when she was younger and raising their children. So she believed that her spousal benefit would be much lower than if she had her own worker benefit to draw from. So she had started her own cleaning company 8 years prior with the goal of paying enough into Social Security over 10 years until she was eligible. It turned out that even if she had paid in for the full 40 quarters or 10 years, her worker benefit would still not have been as much as the spousal benefit that she already was eligible for prior to even working at all. And she didn't even know it. I have to tell you, the two of them were stunned and a little disappointed when I broke that to them. Second story, I sat down with a woman who was about 60. She was a 60-year-old doctor, and this was about 7 years ago. She was wondering when the best time would be for her to take her Social Security benefit. She told me that she had asked her accountant, and then he told her that since she had a 7-figure savings and a 6-figure income, that it really wasn't going to matter when she took it because it was really just going to be cream on top of everything else she had. So she was going to take it at age 62, given what his advice was. They both actually ended up having no idea that based on the Social Security rules, she would not only have been penalized her entire benefit for the first 4 years, but when she did eventually start getting it, it would be reduced by 25% for the rest of her life. To say the least, she was extremely surprised to find that out. These are just two examples of how important it is to know the rules when it comes to filing for your Social Security benefits. And what's even more important is to find out the correct timing on when you and your spouse, if you're married, should take your benefits. Now, if you're interested in getting the most money you can from the Social Security system over your lifetime. These are just the things these are really just the exact things that we're going to discuss on this webinar today. Now, first, I'm going to give you a little history and facts about the Social Security system that most people should know. Then we'll discuss the rules when it comes to not just the Social Security system in general, but also each of the individual types of election choices that we all have available to us. Once we do that, we'll look at some of the sample scenarios that could be used for strategies to enhance both a couple's and a single person's Social Security benefits. And in doing so, you'll be able to see for yourself exactly how much of a difference it can make when implementing a good Social Security strategy. Okay, now that you guys have a clear understanding of what we're going to cover today, before we jump into it, I'd first like to thank each of you for joining us today to discuss this very important topic. My name is Brian Dougherty of PLC Financial Solutions, and I'm your host for it today, along with my beautiful partner in business and life, Rachel Dougherty. Say hi, Rachel.
Hey, everybody.
And Rachel's going to be our moderator for it, as always. Now, before we get started, let's take care of some general housekeeping first. If the screen is not big enough for you to read, you can click on the View Options drop down at the top right of your screen to make it larger. Also, you'll see that there are two boxes at the bottom of the screen, one called Chat, it's for your comments, and the other is called Q&A, and that's for your questions. Please use them accordingly, and Rachel will respond to them in kind. Next, I'm sure that many of you guys will have questions about the material as we go along. However, since we have a good bit to cover and only an hour to cover it, I'm going to ask you to put your comments and questions in those boxes below, or you can email them to us at info@plcfs.com if that's easier for you. And at the end, we'll be staying for some extra time to cover as many of them as possible. However, if we don't cover yours, we'll be happy to answer it by either email or even a 15-minute Q&A phone call scheduled for another time. Rachel will be posting a link for you to schedule that at the end of the webinar. Next, this webinar is being recorded and it will be sent to everyone who is attending tonight. So don't worry about missing anything. You'll have plenty of time to check. You'll have plenty of time to check it out again at your convenience. Also, because we want to make sure that you're all paying attention, and because we'd like you to have some fun as well, before we answer any questions, we have a 6-question quiz for you at the end. And the first person to answer each question correctly inside the comment box will win a $10 gift card to a store of your choice for each question. So make sure you have a notebook, a handy dandy notebook, to jot down some brief notes related to some of the special bullet points that I point out as we go along. Finally, it's my obligation as a financial advisor and a fiduciary to inform you of our RIA's disclaimer statement, which is that our investment advisory services are offered through Fusion Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor, and we only transact business in states where we are properly registered or are excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Also, SEC registration is not an endorsement of our firm by the commission and does not mean that our advisors have attained a specific level of skill or ability. And most importantly, all investment strategies have potential for profit or loss. So now that we got that over with, I have one for you as usual. Here you go. I actually kept this one from the last time we did this topic, and I never do that because I liked it so much. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Oh, I still like that one. I'm going to keep the day job, I promise, as usual. All right, so let's get started. Also, so you know, I want to mention that much of this material that we will be covering today has been obtained from the Social Security Consulting LLC website and their nonprofit sister company. We're putting those links up at the end. The National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program, which is our nation's only accredited Social Security certificate program and the source of my own Social Security Advisor certificate. As you can see, 9 out of 10 people age 65 and older are receiving Social Security benefits, which, of course, make it a very big part of our retirement plans. And that much more important to plan ahead for when it comes to it. Because the employees at the SSA, although very well trained, are directly instructed to specifically not give advice when it comes to people's election choices and helping them to make their best choices with them. This means that you have to know what's best for you and your family before you sit to file your claim, whether it's at the Social Security office or online. It doesn't matter. Now, a little bit of history related to Social Security. It was passed into law in 1935 under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. People actually started receiving it, though, in 1937. The family and survivor benefits were implemented in 1939. The first inflation adjustment was in 1950 for 77% increase, which would get another one of them again, huh? That'd be nice. The Medicare Act was passed in 1965 under Lyndon Johnson, which started the Medicare program. The first annual automatic cost of living adjustment, also known as the COLA today, was passed in 1972, but didn't go into effect until 1975. It started being taxed in 1983 under President Reagan. The penalty for working while collecting Social Security was eliminated for everyone at their full retirement age and beyond in the year 2000 under President Clinton. And this year is the 88th birthday. Happy birthday, Social Security. Thank goodness for you. What's going on here? All right. Let's discuss some differences in circumstances between what things were like when the fund first started and how things have changed over the years. In 1935, the average life expectancy was under age 60. Most people would not live to collect because you could not collect until you were age 65. It was designed for supplemental retirement savings, or as supplemental retirement savings. Bullet point number one, get those notebooks out, jot it down. The worker to retiree ratio in 1935 means the number of workers that were paying in for every person that was collecting on it was 160 paying in for every one retiree. Total benefits paid for all claims in 1937, first year it paid out, was only $1.2 million. Now, the poverty rate at that time for seniors exceeded 50%. Exceeded 50%. Amazing. Now, compared to today, average life expectancy is 82 for a male and 85 for a female. Big difference. That's 22 extra years for a male and 25 extra for a female. People can outlive their retirement savings now, making Social Security that much more important. Social Security makes up about 40% of all current retiree income. Bullet point two, two quick ones here, Related to bullet point one, the worker to retiree ratio today is only 2.8 people paying in for every one retiree pulling out. It went from 160 paying in to 1 to 2.8 to 1. That's a massive difference. That's bullet point two and bullet point one. Now, the total benefits paid annually in 2022 was $1.2317 trillion. Went from 1.2 million 88 years ago to 1.2317 trillion. And the poverty rate for seniors today, this is a great one, is around 9.5%. Still too high as far as I'm concerned, but still, what a huge difference Social Security has made. Okay, obviously we can see what the growth looks like in the Social Security program, going from that 1.2 million in 1937, and this is actually, I took this number, it's actually for 2022, not 2019. I didn't change that. I missed that one. Anyway, so it's increased that much. All right. Now here's the breakdown in the percentages of how much was paid out in 2019 and again last year in 2022 between the different types of benefit classifications. You can see it's actually increased in retired workers from 70.4 to 74.2. Spouses have decreased, and that makes sense with that increase. And why that is because people need the full benefit versus that spousal benefit. So it's reduced on the spousal benefit. Children's benefits has increased from 6.3 to 8.7, and widowers' benefits have decreased from 6.2 to 5.7. Probably again contributing to more people taking retirement benefits versus widowers' benefits. Disabled workers has actually decreased a little from 13.1 to 13.03. All right, let's talk about a really, really hot topic when it comes to Social Security. Will the benefits be there for us when we retire? A lot of people seem to think that it will not be there for us. And here are the facts about it. Bullet point three, come on, get those handy dandy notebooks out, write it down. Our Social Security system is currently made up of two parts. Here they are, write them down. The first is the Social Security Trust Fund. And the second is the Social Security Program. Write them down, the Social Security Trust Fund and the Social Security Program. Now, the actual name of the Social Security Trust Fund, which is nothing more than a big savings account where all the annual surpluses from the revenues that have been paid into since its inception have been saved, is the Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance and Disability Insurance Trust Fund. Woo! That's a lot to say. The Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance and Disability Insurance Trust Fund. It's also known as, to take a double acronym, oh, you know what I mean, right? And that is the OASI and DI Trust Fund. The OASI and DI Trust Fund. That's the acronym. The actual name of the Social Security Program is the Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance Program, otherwise known as the OASDI program. The OASDI program. Now, in 2022, it ended with $2.829 trillion in it, all made up. Now, I'm sorry, what I meant to say was the trust fund ended up with $2.829 trillion in it. And that trust fund is made up of only U.S. Treasury securities. It's not allowed to have any other types of securities in it. Things like T-bills, T-notes, T-bonds. That's it. It's all it can be held in that trust fund. Now, in 2019, the fund had actually increased by $2.5 billion due to a surplus in that we had in the program. So if the program has a surplus, so if the program brings in more money than it costs to run it, that excess goes into the trust fund. If it doesn't bring enough in, they have to take from the trust fund to make up the difference. Now, the problem with the fund is that it has been projected that the income it receives every year which comes from three main sources right now. The first main source and the biggest source is from Social Security payroll taxes. The second is from the income taxes retirees pay on their Social Security benefits. And the third is the interest on the U.S. securities that are held inside the fund. Now, the problem has been that it has not been keeping up, the income coming in to the program has not been keeping up with the expenses that are going out. The total of the three and two of the income, or the total of the three sources of income in 2022 was $1.2216 billion. Or you could also say $1,221.6 billion, or $1.2216 trillion. That's what I meant to say the first time. Broken down like this, the biggest part of the income coming from those that came from the came from the payroll tax was $1,106.1 billion. The amount that came from the payroll tax was a lot less, $48.6 billion. And the amount that came from the interest from the securities that are those government securities that are being held in there was $66.4 billion, all totaling at $1.2216 trillion. It's even hard to talk in this amount of money, let me tell you. So now, even though that is a lot of money, it currently just not enough to cover the expenses that of the program, which includes all the Social Security benefits being paid out every year and the administrative costs related to operating the fund, all of which totaled at $1.2317 trillion in 2022. But the income of the program only totaled at $1.2218 trillion. It ended up being a deficit of $9.9 billion. So this means that $9.9 billion had to be paid from the $2.829 trillion that's being held in that trust fund in government securities. Eventually, the issue is that trust fund is going to eventually run out, and we won't have that for a backup to pay that deficit. Now, many people believe that our Social Security program will become bankrupt at that point, but that is not what will happen. Here's what will happen. So, the big question with that is, how long will it take to use up the entire $2.829 trillion in the trust fund, which is really just, like I said, a big savings account for a rainy day. We're in that rainy day. It took all these years, 88 years, to get to that rainy day. It's estimated to run out somewhere between 2034 and 2035. And since by law, the Social Security system cannot operate in the red and will no longer have a rainy day fund to pull from, the big question then is, what's going to happen to our Social Security benefits then? Well, at that point, the only sources of income going into the fund or the program that will be available to pay our Social Security benefits and the administrative expenses for the program are the payroll taxes, also known as the FICA tax, and the income taxes on the Social Security benefits that our retirees have to pay every year. There'll no longer be those securities and the interest that's being made on them, those government securities in there. So it's been estimated that at that point, somewhere around 20 cents on every dollar, or 89, or it's really said to be exact, 79 cents on every dollar promised to people will be available to pay our Social Security benefits. So basically at that point, we're going to take about a 20% reduction in our benefits across the line. It's still going to be there. Only the trust fund is going to run out, and it's only going to be able to operate on the income that's coming in from those two sources, and that's going to pay about 80% of the estimated benefits at that point. This means, as of now, the worst case scenarios that our Social Security benefits will be reduced around, let's call it even 21% of what we expected to receive. So it will definitely be there for us, but we just won't be collecting as much as we were originally promised, and as much as those who had came before us received on a dollar-to-dollar basis. Now, since the Social Security Trust Fund is going to be getting whittled away at over the next 13 or 14 years, there have been many ideas that have been tossed around Congress to solve the problem before it gets out of hand. Here are the leading considerations. Move the full retirement age from 67 to 70. All earnings would be subject to Social Security payroll tax. Somehow, well, when I did this, it was 147. I think it's around 155, somewhere around that, the cap. Oh, no, it's $156,240, the cap, right around now, I believe. And this is the one that I personally think is going to have the most impact on the program. And there's been many economists that have looked at this and who believe that lifting that cap to make the payroll tax be on all earnings is the one that has the most, the best chance to succeed. They've talked about means testing it. That I am not a fan of, believe me. You're kind of like almost like a welfare at that point. They would decrease the percentage of the delayed retirement credits. I'm not a huge fan of that either. Not when other choices are better, and I don't think that will have a whole lot of impact either, according to many of the sources I've read. Delayed eligibility from age 62 to 64. I mean, I'd hate to see that happen, especially for people that are working manual labor. What life expectancy to the way it is today, it does seem logical, but again, not a huge fan. And the final one, reduce COLA adjustments. Use change CPI, CPIU index. It's currently using what they call the CPIW. Really should be using what's called the CPIE for people older than 62. I don't know why it's not. That's based on what the people's inflation of older ages are. Why wouldn't they use that? But anyway, there's our choices, and I vote for the one number 2. All right. Before we start looking at the rules related to the Social Security, there are 4 main categories of benefits that are available that everybody should really know. There's the regular retirement benefit that currently starts at age 62, stops growing at age 70. There's the survivor benefit. Surviving spouse gets the higher of the 2 benefits. So once one spouse passes, the one that's still alive is considered the surviving spouse, and they would lose whoever's getting the lower benefit. If it was them, they would lose that benefit, and they would keep the higher benefit from the deceased spouse. The disability benefits, and you have to qualify for those. That's a whole different ball of wax. SSDI, SSI. Well, SSI is a little different. SSDI is actually directly in part of the fund. And then there's actually family benefits, and they can pay out as much as 180% of the worker's benefit to dependent family members. We're not going to dig too deep into them today, but that can get really interesting. Okay, let's get into the rules. Throughout this workshop, you'll hear a few terms and abbreviations related to Social Security. These are the most common that you should definitely be familiar with. Bulletproof 4, write it down. Write it down. That first one is called the full retirement age, or for short, acronym the FRA. It's often referred to as the FRA, the full retirement age. We're going to explain what that is and how you get it. The second, bullet point, another 2 in a row. Bullet point 5 already, but that's how important this is the PIA. The PIA, also known as the primary insurance amount. Write that down. There's the FRA, that's bullet point 4, also known as the full retirement age. And then there's the PIA, or primary insurance amount. And what is the primary insurance amount? It's the benefit a person will receive if he or she elects to begin receiving retirement benefits at his or her full retirement age. Now, at this age, the full retirement age, the benefit is neither reduced for early retirement nor increased for delayed retirement. So there's only one specific full retirement age for every person. So you really got to know what that is. And the primary insurance amount is what they call the amount that goes to somebody at their full retirement age. So bullet point 4 is what does FRA stand for? That's full retirement age. Bullet point 5 is knowing what the PIA, or primary insurance amount, is. And that's simply the amount that you get at your full retirement age. The amount you get at your full retirement age. That's your primary insurance amount. All right. Third is the common term SSA, standing for Social Security Administration. And the last one is just the COLA, the COLA, which stands for the Cost of Living Adjustment. They're the 4 primary abbreviations or acronyms or whatever you want to call them that you're going to hear a lot to be referred to in short. All right, let's talk about how to determine your full retirement age. When the fund started, everyone's full retirement age was age 65. Then Congress decided we needed to start pushing the full retirement age back to eventually be age 67 because they added all these benefits and they were already looking ahead thinking it was going to wear down the program too much. So, but what they made when they did this, the largest blocks of folks born between 1943 and 1954 would have a full retirement age of 66. So when they decided to push this retirement age back, they made it where the largest block of folks that were born between 1943 and 1954 would all have the same retirement age of 66. Then, in order to drag the process out for a while, then everyone's full retirement age who was born between 1955 and 1959 would increase in 2-month intervals. And the same was true for everyone born between 1938 and 1942. And finally, everyone who was born in or after 1960 would have a full retirement age of 67. So basically stretching it out for several decades in order to get there. A little over 2 decades. So how do we determine how much our benefits are going to be? First, they multiply your past earnings by an index factor in order to adjust them for inflation. Second, they take your highest 35 years of earnings and add them together. Third, they divide that total by the number 420, which is the number of months in 35 years. The final number from this equation is referred to as your AIME, A-I-M-E, which is short for your average indexed monthly earnings. This is not what determines what your benefit amount is, though. To determine your benefit amount, your AIME is used in what is called a bend system, which is a little too time-consuming for this workshop, but it works a lot like our tax bracket system. All you need to know for now is that the result of the bend formula is what they refer to as your PIA, or primary insurance amount. And that is how they determine what your full retirement age Social Security benefit is. Oh, that was easy. That was easy, right? A lot goes into it. All right, here are the rules related to to individual benefits under different circumstances. Collecting Social Security benefits before your full retirement age will cause your benefit to be permanently reduced. See these percentages on this graph? This chart shows how much the benefits will be reduced if your full retirement age is age 66. And also, for the purpose of this class today, we will continue to use age 66 as the full retirement age. Now, collecting Social Security benefits after your full retirement age will result in your benefits being increased by 8% per year until age 70. This is simple compounding on top of any COLA adjustment. Of course, if you change the full retirement age for every person, and a lot of people can have the same ones, but there's a lot of different ones out there. These percentages of the decreases and increases of your benefits will change slightly as well. So when it comes to working while collecting Social Security, these are the rules for that. Remember, Social Security benefits were intended to be supplemental retirement income. So the SSA really wants you to be retired when you collect them. Therefore, they'll penalize you for collecting early if you are not actually retired. Bullet point 6, final bullet point, write it down. Bullet point 6, final bullet point. If you collect benefits early, you will be subject to what is called the annual earnings test. If you collect your benefits early, you will be subject to what is called the annual earnings test, which looks exclusively at your earnings every year. Now, it looks exclusively at your earnings every year prior to full retirement age. Now, if you earn more than the threshold amount of $21,240 in 2023, you'll lose $1 of benefits for every $2 earned over that threshold. Now, keep in mind, this is on top of already receiving a reduced benefit for the rest of your life. Although, in the year that you reach your full retirement age, a different rule applies. The threshold is $56,520 by 2023. 2023 standards. And the rule changes too, that you lose $1 for every $3 earned over the threshold. So it actually lightens up. Now, once you make it to the month in which you turn your full retirement age, doesn't need to be your birthday. You just got to make it to the first day of the month where you're going to turn your full retirement age. Then there's no more thresholds applied, and you can earn as much as you want with no reductions in benefits applied. And so you know, this applies to all Social Security benefits except Social Security disability. Individual, spousal, child, and survivor benefits that are collected before full retirement age are all subject to the annual earnings test. Although you should also know that these penalized benefits are not kept by the Social Security Administration forever. They are returned back to you once you turn your full retirement age, but not in a lump sum. They're distributed evenly from the time you reach your full retirement age until you reach what the government sees as your life expectancy. And that changes from year to year. All right, now let's talk about the spousal and survivor benefits. When it comes to spousal benefits today, the number one thing you must understand is what the term deemed filing means. Deemed filing. And it's actually pretty simple. What it means is if you were born after January 1st, 1954, we're running out of people that are collecting benefits. When you file for your benefits, you'd be 69 years old now or older if you were born on or before that date. It's considered that if you're born after that date, like most people now that are filing, when you file for your benefits, it's considered that you are filing for all the Social Security benefits that you are eligible for at the same time. So you're deemed filing for all the benefits you're eligible for. So if you're eligible for both a worker benefit and a spousal benefit, then you're filing for both. You're filing for both and will receive a combination of both in your benefit. This was not always the case, though. At one time, you could file for one and leave the other grow in the system until a later date, which was usually age 70 for most people, or for many people anyway. This allowed folks to more easily maximize their benefits. But that stopped as a result of the Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015. Also, there are a few more details you should understand when it comes to spousal benefits. One, you have to take your spousal benefit at your full retirement age in order to receive the full 50% of your spousal full retirement age benefit. Two, you have to be at least age 62 in order to qualify to receive a spousal benefit. And of course, at that age, it will be reduced by 30%. Three, you must be married at least 12 consecutive months to be entitled to it. People get married later in life, after the age of 62. They file, say they didn't have a worker benefit, and they marry somebody who does. They have to be married 12 months before they can actually file for that spousal benefit. Fourth, when you file, if you're eligible for both worker and spousal benefits, the end result is that you will receive the higher of the two. So if your spousal benefit is higher than your worker benefit, you're going to get the spousal benefit. If your worker benefit is higher than your spousal benefit, you're going to get the worker benefit. And finally, if your spouse were to pass away while you were still married, you have to be married at least for 9 months to receive a widow or widower's benefit on your spouse's work record. The only exceptions to that are if he or she passes as a result of an accident or from active military duty. Man, I'm parched going through the water. Okay, now, when it comes to divorced spousal benefits, you have to have been married for at least 10 years to collect off an ex-spouse's benefit. 2, you have to be currently unmarried. Can't be remarried even if you were married for 10 years and collect on that ex-spouse's benefit. 3, you and your ex-spouse must be at least age 62. Now, if you're divorced, though, for less than 2 years, then your ex-spouse must be receiving either retirement or disability benefits for you to be eligible to receive a spousal benefit. So if you're divorced only recently and it hasn't been more than 2 years, if your ex-spouse is not receiving either disability or Social Security retirement benefits, you can't get a benefit. Now, if you're divorced for 2 years or more, your ex-spouse does not need to be collecting any benefits at all, and you're still eligible and you can collect a benefit off their work record. Now, gets really down the rabbit hole here. Let's talk about divorced survival spousal benefits. Now, this is a situation where your ex-spouse passes away after you were already divorced. First, like we said, it's the same as the other one. When they're alive, you have to have been married to your deceased ex-spouse for at least 10 years. It's the same as if they're still alive. You have to have been married for at least 10 years. The second is you must be at least age 60 now, not 62, to collect it. Or you can even be age 50 or higher if you're disabled. However, when you collect any Social Security benefit before your full retirement age, they will still be reduced benefits that you're going to receive. And the younger you are, the more they're reduced. And finally, after age 60, you can be unmarried or married as long as it happens after age 60. So if you got remarried, you have a deceased ex-spouse, you got remarried after age 60, you can now file on their claim. But if you're younger than 60 and you get remarried, you can't. All right, before we discuss some different strategies to consider, let me state a few bullet points. One, again, remember that since Social Security claims reps are not allowed to give you advice to help you to maximize your benefits, you have to create your own plan to do it. 2, if you're part of a family where multiple people will be eligible for benefits, like your children as well, it will give you a greater opportunity to maximize your benefits if you can coordinate the timing of how they are all implemented. So the more people involved, the timing can even get that much more important to get more from the system. 3rd, to really fine-tune a plan to get every penny out of the system, you can't be thinking in terms of taking your benefits at the standard exact ages of 62, at your full retirement age, or even at age 70. That's what we call, Social Security advisors call thinking inside the box. And it will not produce almost 99% of the time the greatest maximum benefit. 4, You have to micromanage the benefits by taking into consideration all the various benefit types that each person is eligible for and the combination of all 96 months that each person is eligible in. And then combine each person's optimal months for each benefit available to them together to find the combination that will produce the maximum amount received overall. That is what we call situational Social Security or out of the box thinking. Fifth, it takes a little doing. This is probably why 90% of people don't do it, but we believe it can be worth it, especially over a lifetime. And finally, don't rely on claims reps to help you do it because they are specifically instructed not to give folks advice. One other thing for you to consider prior to creating your plan is whether you or your spouse were born prior to January 1st, 1954. If you were, then you have an option that others born later don't have anymore. This is because, like I mentioned before, 2015, the Bipartisan Budget Act was passed by Congress and it began a phase-out process for 2 of the 5 claiming choices that were available at that time. The first was the file and suspend strategy, and that got phased out actually pretty quickly. It ended on April 29, 2016. It was available to allow claimants to choose between taking either their workers or spousal benefits separately and leaving one of them to grow until a later date, regardless of whether their spouse had filed for benefits or not. We used to love it. It was the king daddy of them all. The second is actually, like I said, it's still available to those folks born on or before January 1st, 1954. But that's actually, phasing out fairly quickly. And it's called a restricted application. It allows you to claim a spousal benefit off your spousal's work record while leaving your own worker benefit to still earn delayed retirement credits until age 70, if you'd like. Whoever is, they're 69 now, and now it's halfway through the year, so you got about a year and a half to delay those credits. Man, jumping all over the place. Although this strategy is only available to folks born on by that date, so if you were, you should definitely give this some serious thought when it comes to creating your own personal Social Security strategy. Now, with all that said, let's take a look at some advanced filing strategies so that you can see for yourself how your benefits could be increased by timing and planning to file them at certain strategic times. Okay, so this is Jeremy and Samantha, our fictitious married couple, planning out their Social Security benefits. Jeremy is the higher wage earner in this scenario, and they both have a full retirement age of 66, to make it easy, which means that they were both born before January 1st, 1954, which makes it more interesting. Keep that in mind. Okay. If they both started collecting at age 62, they just took that real vanilla strategy and they had life expectancies of 75 for Jeremy and 82 for Sam. So we're going with a short life expectancy in these scenarios. Then Jeremy would receive his own reduced monthly benefit of $1,650. Which is a 25% reduction from his FRA, full retirement age benefit. Samantha would receive her reduced monthly benefit of $450. That's her full retirement benefit reduced by 25%. But she'd also receive, in addition to that, another $350 spousal benefit, which is reduced by 30%. Until Jeremy passed away at age 75. When Jeremy passes away at 75, Samantha would be eligible to receive his $1,650 for survivor benefits. Her previous benefits would stop since the $1,650 is greater than the $800 she was collecting. At the end of the day, in this scenario, with those life expectancies, they'd receive a total of $550,200 back from the Social Security throughout their lifetime. Now, had Samantha and Jeremy both waited until full retirement age, in this scenario, Jeremy would receive his his FRA monthly benefit of $2,200, and Samantha would receive her FRA monthly benefit of $600, and then an additional $500 of spousal benefits that's not reduced. When Jeremy passes away again at age 75 in this scenario, Samantha would then be eligible to receive his $2,200 as a survivor benefit. Even though they received benefits for a lesser period of time, because they received higher amounts, they actually received $580,800 back from Social Security, which is roughly $30,000 more from if they had started collecting at age 62 together. Okay, now let's look at that last vanilla strategy where they both take their benefit at age 70. Had they both waited until that age, they would have only received $532,224. When you don't have the longevity, Jeremy in this case only lives until age 75. Waiting to age 70 may not always be in your best interest. That's why it's suggested that you always consider your potential life expectancy along with different age and benefit combinations to see which will provide you with the greatest amount of benefits and flexibility under different circumstances. Now, let's get creative. What if the lower earner, in this case, Samantha, started collecting at age 62, but Jeremy waits until age 66? Since Jeremy has not filed at first, Samantha would only receive her own worker benefit. She wouldn't get the spousal benefit. Many times, this is actually a very good strategy for a lower earning spouse to use, while the higher earner spouse waits until their full retirement age or later. Plus, if the higher earner was born by January 1st, 1954, and in this case they were, they could even file a restricted application at their full retirement age and receive a spousal benefit while their worker benefit keeps growing as much as 32%. In the scenario shown here, Samantha begins collecting a reduced worker benefit of $450 at age 62. Jeremy decides to file for his worker benefits at age 66. And in turn, Samantha is now eligible to begin receiving her additional $500 spousal benefit because Jeremy's filed and he has to have filed for her to get her spousal benefit. Also, because she's at full retirement age when she begins the spousal benefit, that, like I said, portion's not reduced anymore. At the end of the day, by using this strategy, Jeremy and Samantha collect $584,400 from Social Security throughout their lifetime, which is greater than what they would have received at their inside the box ages of 62, 66, and 70. This is the result of using what we call situational Social Security or out of the box or an out of the box claiming strategy. Now, let's add some longevity to the mix. If Jeremy lives to 85 and Samantha to 92, that last strategy no longer provides the largest amount of benefits. The best option for Jeremy and Samantha in this case would be for them both to begin collecting at age 70. where they would collect over $50,000 more throughout their lifetime, taking them from $962,400 to $1,012,704. In fact, with longevity on their side, if they both took their benefits at their full retirement age, that too would actually work out slightly better for them, producing an additional $14,400, taking them from $962,400 to $976,800. Again, you can see here why it's important to look at several different scenarios and to do your best to apply what you think is more likely to prevail in your situation. Hence, situational Social Security. Okay, now let's look at a totally different scenario. In this last scenario, another time to potentially switch between benefits is when a widow or widower is entitled to a survivor benefit and has a good sized worker benefit of their own. In many cases, folks like Jeremy and Samantha might compare their worker benefit to their survivor benefit and just do what seems most logical and collect the higher of the two benefits, which is what most people actually end up doing. However, the best way to maximize their benefits would be to start collecting one and then switch to the other at age 70 so it can grow that 8% per year for those extra 4 years. So in this scenario, if it was Samantha, she would collect her survivor benefit at age 60. Thus, by receiving a reduced survivor benefit for the first 10 years collected, she allows her worker benefit to grow all the way up to age 70. Then at age 70, she begins collecting her own worker benefit, which is grown to now $2,904 or 132% of the $2,200, which is her full retirement age benefit. Using this strategy could boost her lifetime income by around $200,000. It also allows her to collect just under $1 million through her lifetime. So if this strategy is feasible for someone, they could collect an extra $200K in retirement, which I'm sure could go a long way for most people. All right. So I hope after looking at the Social Security rules and these few strategies, you guys now have a better idea of what is possible when it comes to how to get the most from your Social Security claims. Okay, with that said, I guess the big question for you guys today is, how can this work for you? Which I'm sure gets to the heart of why many of you chose to attend this workshop today. Here are my thoughts on that when it comes to that. Figuring out which claiming strategy will work best is not actually the easiest thing to computate mathematically. If you count every single month that a person is eligible for Social Security benefits, there are 96 benefit amounts that apply to each person for each type of benefit that they're eligible for. Then, if you add a second person to that mix, you can definitely start to see how it starts to get complicated pretty quickly. That's why in our office, we use a Social Security planning software to calculate that for us. What you're looking at in this slide is the information from pages on the report that it generates for us. These pages show us the 3 best scenarios for the clients, one of which it considers the optimal scenario as well. What I'd like to do is offer everyone that has attended this workshop today a complimentary Social Security strategies report like this one. All you have to do is book it on my schedule so it happens within the next 2 weeks. This is a slower time of year for us, and I'll be able to accommodate pretty much most of the people on this workshop, on this webinar today. Rachel was actually going to be posting a 60-minute meeting link in the chat box now for you to do that. You going to put them up now, Rach? Now, we can do those meetings either online through Zoom, which will be very much like this webinar, except that we'll both be able to see each other and hear each other, and it'll be completely private. Or we can do it at our office in Fort Washington. It literally is right off the turnpike. You can see it out the window here. Well, folks, that concludes our presentation for today. So we now can jump into our 6-question quiz. Then we will answer your questions before we conclude the webinar. It looks like Rachel's having complications with her computer, so I'm going to have to go into the quiz myself and check out the answers. So let's jump into it. Please put your answers to these questions in the Q&A. Question number 1. When Social Security starts, when Social Security started, what was the worker to retiree ratio? 60-1. Good job, Frank. All right, Frank, let us know where you want your gift card from. I think you won 1 or 2 in the past as well. All right. Second question. Amazon it is then, Frank. Now, second question. What is the current worker to retiree ratio? Marty. You missed the decimal there, Marty. Oh, Frank. Frank got the decimal. Marty jumped on it sooner, though. Were you looking to put 2.8, Marty? Let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to have to give that to you, Frank. Trying to be fair here, though. Just in case we go with you, Marty, let us know where you'd like a gift card from. All right. Question number 3. Name the 2 parts of our Social Security system. The 2 parts of our Social Security system. You got it, Frank. I'm going to give that second one to Marty. You did confirm the 2.8. So we got Marty for number 2. Frank for number 3. All right, number 4. What does the acronym FRA stand for? Gonna level the playing ground here, Frank. You got 2. I'm gonna give the second one to Marty. He's both jumped in at the same exact time. Got a little tie going on here. All right. Number 5. At what age does a person receive their primary insurance amount, or PIA? At what age? It's not a number. Marty, you got it. The full retirement age. Oh, wait. Oh, Frank got that one. He was in first. All right. Frank, you're on a roll. Quick to the trigger. Final question. What test will you be subject to? if you collect your Social Security benefits prior to your full retirement age, what test will you be subject to? Yes, Marty, you got it. It ended up being a tie. Good job, guys. Marty, where do you want that gift card to? Let us know. Amazon, both Amazon. Writing that down so I don't forget. Amazon. All right, now we could jump into a few questions if anybody has any. We do have a few here in the email. So I'm going to jump into the first question from the email. Question is, my husband was born in 1954, but I was born in 1957, and I am 66 now. Can I file a restricted application and take my spousal benefit now and leave my worker benefit grow until I'm age 70? Unfortunately, you can't do that. Even though your husband was born before 1954 or in 1954, as long as it was before January 1st, 1954, you didn't say that. But doesn't matter anyway, it's the person who was born in January 1st, 1954 or before that can file this restricted application. Second question. When I was in my 30s, I was only married for 6 months, and my husband died suddenly in an auto accident. Sorry to hear that. I am 62 now. So am I eligible for a deceased spousal benefit off his Social Security record? Well, the answer is, since it was an accident, yes. Even though it wasn't for 9 months, it was an accident, either an accident or military duty would. Oh, and I must disclaim that as long as you're not remarried now, or if you are remarried, you got remarried after age 60, you can. All right, got a third question here. My husband is 67 years old and I am 55 or 55 years old. We have a son that is 12. If my husband files for his claim this year, will we receive benefits for our son too? Yes, you can, and it'll be up to 50% of your husband's benefits. And obviously 67, he said his full retirement age or more. It would be half of his full retirement age benefit. Final question in the email. Isn't it always a guarantee that a family will always receive the highest amount from the Social Security benefits if both spouses wait until age 70 to take it? The answer to that is no. It depends on how long you live. Generally, the shorter the lifespan, the less you'll receive as a whole. All right, that concludes all of our questions. And that, in conclusion, I'd like to thank everyone who took the time out of their busy schedules to attend our workshop today. I truly commend you for being the type of people that are looking to better inform yourselves on important topics like this. Again, folks, on behalf of myself, Brian Dougherty, and my wonderful, beautiful partner in business and life, Rachel Dougherty, who unfortunately got booted off with her computer, of PLC Financial Solutions, located in the Fort Washington area. You can get in touch with us if you have any questions related to our topic today or anything else by either calling us at 215-804-9708 or by emailing us at info@plcfs.com. Or you can also just go to our website at plcfs.com. Or you can also schedule a complimentary 15-minute Q&A phone call meeting, and we'd be happy to discuss that. Anything really you'd want to talk about and that's on your mind. Also, folks, we hope we hope to see you on our future webinars as well. We usually hold them on the last Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. Our next webinar was on August 29th, 2023, next month at 7 p.m. So mark that on your calendar. Also, we will be leaving this webinar live for the next 30 minutes so that you can click on any of these links to schedule with us or to copy and paste them somewhere where you can have access to them later. They're also on our website under the Schedule a Meeting tab, if for some reason you lose them. Also, folks, since Rachel got kicked off, I'm going to go back in and post those links in the chat box in a few minutes. All right, folks, that's it for tonight. Have a great rest of July and August, and we will see you next month. Have a great rest of your summer.